Shalom and good day all. This is Tehillim29 back again for another anime review. And for this anime review, I'll be reviewing the first 12 episodes of season 1 of Vinland Saga. And I must admit, I am really surprised I've actually gotten through these first 12, and I've really wanted to come off, say, from fresh off the watching the first 12. And of course, I've also prepared a URL in relation to Rainbow Press and Comics for this. So when this does go out, you actually get to see some of the stuff that I wrote up, as well as some of the things I covered on the video. Now, I must admit, I really enjoyed watching through Vinland Saga, these first 12 episodes. But one thing I'm going to have to bring up, which will probably come up more in the afterthoughts, after addressing the first 12 episodes, was actually what order they did this actual anime in. Now, I've read the manga myself in relation to the series, and I must admit, I really enjoy the manga. And I mean, I really enjoy it. It is fantastic and it is worth the read. Um, and I definitely recommend it for anyone who also wants to see it or wants to read through it and see it themselves. So I'm going to get started on my notes that I've got here, and this is in the first 6 episodes. We are introduced to the character of Thorfinn. So I've put it under Enter Thorfinn, episodes 1 to 12. So episode 1, this episode begins as we see Thors, the father of Thorfinn, go into battle against some Vikings until eventually the battle is over and he walks away. We are finally introduced to Thorfinn and we meet Leif Erikson, who is connected to these Vikings. And I must admit, this character really gets around in the actual series, and that includes the manga too. So, to those who are looking forward to seeing season 2, you're going to see Leif Erikson in season 2, and if they end up doing a season 3, you'll probably see him again in season 3. As well as who is sharing some stories with some children, to which one of those children is also Thorfinn. Also, learning about, and this is also being used to learn about Iceland, Greenland, and Norway. As we move into episode 2, Thorfinn is playing with some other kids his age, which I thought was really fantastic. And his friend Faxi himself die early in the game. They are playing as Thor gets a visit from the Joms Vikings, one of them being Floki, coming on a warship to the village. Thorfinn is living, coming to the warship is coming to the village that Thorfinn is living at. Thorfinn shows some restlessness after Floki leaves the village, preparing the audience of what is to come next. As we move into episode 3, Floki has made arrangements with Askeladd to kill Thors, as Thorfinn has no idea as what is to come next. As Thors goes looking for Thorfinn for his goodbye, so before they're leaving Iceland, this is happening, the rest make their way to the battlefield to where Floki has asked them to go. With Thorfinn found by Thors, Leif talks to him from the ship that he is sailing from. Their set locations where both Leif and Thors see something suspicious coming up ahead in the story. Jumping into episode 4, as Thors leaves his ship, he starts to make his way onto Askeladd's ships, clearing them out as Thorfinn watches One of Askeladd's men is a berserker and beginning to head and target Fours. Finally, a battle breaks out between Askeladd and Fours, whilst Thorfinn watches in the background on the same ship that they are fighting on. Now, I must admit, this really set things up to bring in the tone as to what was happening in the series. And now I'll move on to episodes 5 and 6. To which in episode 5, we have the death of Thors, and Thorfinn stows away on one of the boats to which Askeladd took possession of. Now, this boat that Askeladd took possession of is also one of his father's boats. Um, with only revenge in his sights of the death of his father, Leif returns to Thor's house to inform his family of his death, as well as the disappearance of Thorfinn. As Thorfinn's goal and motivation is now set in place for him, and that is to get revenge for the death of his father. Moving into episode 6, Askeladd's forces have been ambushed in Gainsborough, as Thorfinn has been somewhat a default member of his unit. As things continue, we start to move into some time skips of Thorfinn's experience under Askeladd. Now, we get very few time skips that happen here, but it gives you an understanding as to what happens um, with Thorfinn and his character whilst working under Askeladd, which he still holds to wanting revenge against Askeladd to what he did to his father. It's now time to move on to the last 6 and what happens here next. Jumping into episode 7, Askeladd has taken his crew to France, to which he sees the Franks basically fighting amongst themselves, and as they arrive, he sends Thorfinn out to do his dirty work so he can earn his goal in getting revenge of his father. I want to bring up a note here that in the manga, this is actually where the story begins for the very first chapter. So everything that we see before here, uh, everything that's been seen here previously, doesn't come up until a little bit longer in the manga, to which you get to see in, say, for example, the first 2 volumes of the manga. And this is what these episodes are actually doing. They are somewhat covering the first 2 volumes of Vinland Saga, and they are pretty hefty volumes. Moving into episode 8, Thorfinn finally gets an opportunity to duel against Askeladd in an attempt to get revenge for the death of his father. Askeladd taunts Thorfinn during the fight, to which he eventually loses, but he still lives to fight Askeladd another day. Jumping into episode 9, Thorfinn has been given his next bounty by Askeladd, and with this, they are on their way to London, and the area that they are around is actually London Bridge. And Askeladd has asked for the head of Thorkel to basically be his next bounty to earn his next duel against Askeladd, as he still desires revenge against him, and with his loss against Thorkel, he does get away safely. Moving into episodes 10, 11, and 12. Episode 10, Thorfinn wakes up from a dream with his father in it. Whilst this is happening, Thorkel has learned Prince Canute is present in the London Bridge camp, and Askeladd ends up speaking to a survivor connected to Prince Canute's footmen. Jumping into episode 11, Thorkel has taken Prince Canute as his hostage, as while they are traveling, he also tries to mock his faith, or tries to mock Canute's faith, but Canute stays silent in this. As Askeladd has prepared his men in the background, the troops of Ragnar men seek to recover Canute fully from Forkal's clutches, making sure he gets away safely. After being handed over to them, Thorfinn has been sent out by Askeladd to recover Canute or Prince Canute in a fire that Askeladd started to be a distraction for Forkal. Jumping into episode 12, Prince Canute is now under the protection of Askeladd's troop. He also sent a letter to some elders, and Thorfinn has been brought forth to become one of Canute's guards to protect him, as they also made their escape to Wales via reinforcements who helped them across the sea. So, for with that, there is actually quite a bit that is actually happening here. And for what is happening here, um, yes, it's a lot to take in, but for what is to come in the next upcoming episodes, which by the time this video goes out, hopefully the next review or the next lot of reviews will be worked on, if not already completed. So basically, this is part one of the Vinland Saga reviews. Part two will come later on. I'll now move into the area of my afterthoughts in relation to this first part of the season. Now, moving into my afterthoughts, the first 6 episodes of Vinland Saga, one thing I didn't expect was it to cover the backstory in relation to Thorfinn's character. At the beginning of the series, I have read the manga of this series, and I was expecting it to start actually where the manga actually starts. And I didn't expect it at which the anime to which the anime doesn't actually start until episodes 6 and 7, or 5, 6, and 7, where in the manga we get Thorfinn's backstory basically within the first volume, and a lot that and also what, and with him wanting his duel against Askeladd. I'll give this in seeing Thorfinn's backstory done in the first 6 episodes is that it respected the source material and definitely gave us, the audience, to grow with Thorfinn in his early life, to which you do get to see him grow under his family's umbrella, to some of the things which were instilled to him as a child and still holds dear to in what he was taught, even to how he looked up to his own dad. The next 6 episodes, we explore some more. We do explore some more across Europe. So, in the geological landscape, in regards to Europe, we actually get to see a little bit more as to how far these Vikings traveled in the story. From very, very early France with the Franks until eventually traveling not only towards London but also Wales. But as this is occurring, it is nice to see how the anime even brings across the dream Thorfinn had in relation to his father and his birthplace of Iceland, until eventually we're brought back into the present day, to which once again Thorfinn is being used as a tool for Askeladd against his foes. Moving on to the last part of this, the main and supporting characters in these 12 episodes are quite amazing, as I didn't quite expect them to cover Thorfinn's backstory at the very beginning of the series, and I thought it would be brought in around episode 6, where I was wrong, and I'm not worried about that. Though I don't mind it, it still made the experience quite enjoyable, and I stick to the rating to which I give these characters for these first 12 episodes. And now these are my ratings in relation to these characters. So for the main characters, such as Thorfinn, of course, I think his father could, in some essence, count as a main character, or Thorfinn's father, Thors, even Askeladd, maybe even Leif, because of how far this guy travels through the series. Then we've got the supporting characters, such as the many minuscule characters. of course, for the animation, and last but not least, for this first part of the story. So for the main characters, I gave it an 8 out of 10. For the supporting characters, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed the animation in this. I loved how they brought across from the manga into the anime how they basically covered the geography of the land that was set both in the manga but also brought into the anime. The overall story rating for this, I give an 8.5 out of 10. And before I finish off, I want to give a big thanks to the creator of Vinland Saga. And until then, let's keep it colorful and have yourself an awesome day. Well, thanks again for watching this anime review. Definitely stay tuned for any future ones.